Hi there. Let me ask you a question. What is it that you say when the conversation is about what you intend to do but just don't have time for? Take a vacation, learn to meditate, spend quality time with your kids, hike the Appalachian Trail. What is the intention that you're holding in your heart that cannot be fulfilled as long as you stay busy? Put this at stake here in this conversation. And take a moment to notice that there are times when you have a lot to do and yet you don't feel busy. Like in the middle of a soccer scrimmage, when you're actually playing soccer, or when you're excitedly working on a pet project, or sometimes when you're throwing a party. There's a lot going on, and yet you are in your element. You're in the zone. Things are smooth. Now, by the same token, notice that there are times when, even though there isn't much going on at all, you have that sensation of being busy. Like when you have a proposal due, and you're sitting there trying to think of what it's going to be. Or when somebody acknowledges you in a big way, and you're just stunned, and your mind is flooding, and yet there's nothing coming out. Right? There's that frenetic desperation, just leave me alone. And yet there's not all that much going on. And yet it feels just like you're busy. Why is that? Well, there's overwhelm or intimidation, or you're out over your depth in understanding, or you're put on the spot, or you just need some downtime. What this means is that in the end, busyness has much less to do with what's actually going on in the world around you, and much more to do with the condition of your mind. Am I saying busyness is all in your mind? No. Obviously, there are things to do, and lots of them. But the external circumstances look to you the way they do, largely because of your internal state. Right? If you're having fun playing soccer, it doesn't feel busy. But if you're feeling like you need to perform on the spot, all of a sudden your mind is flooded with busyness. So if you're feeling too busy, the first thing to look at is your mind. Today, I request that you practice being conscious of being with yourself, being with your own mind. Right? Carry it along beside you. Sit there next to your own state of mind and watch it. Be your mind's friend. Be gentle. Relieve it. So keep track in your journal of the topics that you notice that you talk to yourself about the most. As you're sitting there being with your mind, notice, I keep going back to this. That issue seems to be pressing. I haven't resolved this other thing. Have your journal close by and give each topic a mark every time you return to it. Now, this is going to take some discipline and some diligence. But that awareness is what is curative. And meaning that you will have much less on your mind. Things will start to disappear from your mind and you'll feel less busy. You'll be less busy. So pause for a moment right now and write down the first thought that you had when I asked you to keep track of the topics that you talk to yourself about. What was the first thought you had? Don't make it up. Go back, re-experience it. It could have been a judgment about the task or yourself, or a doubt or worry. Just write it down for now. Observing that thought is going to be a portal into the underlying root of all your busyness. For example, let's say your first thought was, I already know what the underlying root of my busyness is. It's that I don't have enough money. When you do the assignment and actually keep track of what you talk to yourself about, you may well see that it's not the money, but it's already knowing that keeps coming back and is at the root of your busyness. It's what keeps you swirling in your own thoughts and not exploring the unknown, the peace that might be out there. Another example, you might have heard yourself, when I said, I want you to keep track of your thoughts, you might have heard yourself say, well, there are so many of them at the root of my busyness. Now, your healing may well lie in seeing what's common to all of those thoughts, rather than just causing this profusion of thoughts. Look at what's common to them all. It might be an emotional commonality that they all flow through. Very revealing. One more example. Your first thought when I said keep track of the topics that you think about might have been, yeah, right. Like, I'm going to do that. I'm not doing it. I already have too much to do. The underlying cause of your busyness could well be resistance. You find one thing after another to keep you busy so you don't have to face the music, whatever that means in your situation. We've distinguished right from the get-go here the fact that busyness is not about what's going on around you. It's about the way you approach what's going on. To be clear, by eliminating busyness, we are in no way eliminating or even reducing either the amount there is to do or your productivity or your growth as a person. We're not touching any of that yet. You might once you get clarity. In fact, by eliminating busyness, you will actually enjoy an increase in productivity and personal growth. I promise you that. All of that busyness is actually slowing you down. Can you see that? Like trying to talk with a mouthful of peanut butter or something. The point is that we're really not very skilled at handling all there is to do. All those opportunities, all those delightful complexities of life. Instead, we make life overwhelming, frenetic, frustrating, stressful, tiresome, or boring even. This whole spectrum of unempowering ways of living is our mind's invention. It's keeping us from the real juice. One root of all this self-disempowerment is that we want things to be different than the way they actually are. It's as though we entertain a basic thought all the time that goes something like this. If life were different, if I didn't have to do all this stuff, then I'd be happy. Have you heard yourself say that, even out loud perhaps? People will even say things like, well, why do you think they call it work? Because if you didn't have to do it, you wouldn't. Or I often hear statements like, all I want to do is go flop out on the beach and forget about the world. One of the contributing factors to the debacles of the .com era and the real estate boom in the 2007 was this dream of getting rich quick, with little effort, and retiring early. Now, I'm not saying that retiring early and getting rich easily is a bad thing necessarily. It depends. What I am saying is that many folks got wrapped up in this trend and hadn't addressed the real issue, their happiness. They thought it would make them happy to get rich quick, right? The satisfying of their soul. That's the real issue. They were, and we are now, just unskilled at dealing with busyness. Not really getting what we say we want out of all the activity that we're engaged in. Not producing the life that fulfills us, albeit very busily trying. Where does the peace and quiet live that all this busyness was supposed to afford us? Right? What is peace of mind anyway? Notice how often your busyness is misplaced and you just get busier, not more satisfied. Like you don't know how to comfort yourself or somebody else. So you go to the mall and buy a bunch of stuff. Right? Or you don't have a vision of growing your business, or your personal life for that matter, so you do a bunch of random things. Sound familiar? You don't feel good health-wise, so you push harder through the day, or you bang out more, heavier bench presses. You can't sort out your emotions, so you down a hamburger and some chocolate. We're largely busy in order to avoid fear and pain. Said another way, we're busy seeking comfort and security. But we don't really realize that. We think we're put upon. Where peace lives is in no longer wanting life to be different, no longer seeking satisfaction, no longer striving to make life different than it actually is. And this peace can take place anywhere, anytime, no matter what's going on around you. I'd like you to contemplate now, what is the experience that you really want? What is it that you want, that you're seeking? It's not anything outside yourself. It's a state. It's a quality. Like love or joy or ease or freedom. What is it you really want? Name it. Write it down and become skillful at tapping into it whenever you like. Nothing is more important. It's a matter of either sourcing yourself from within or continuing to make yourself so busy that you don't have a moment's time to access that quality within yourself that you really want to experience in life. It's your choice. I'll tell you a quick story. A friend of mine, Carrie, contemplated rigorously and realized that what he really wanted to experience was freedom. Carrie understood that freedom is his birthright. He said, I know I'm ultimately free, and that I've just taken all these forms of obligation and structure and pressure on unnecessarily. So Carrie went to work on feeling and behaving freely in the face of these obligations and structures and pressures of his life. The other day, I asked Carrie, so how busy are you these days? He said, well, it's odd. I've still got most of the same things to do, but my relationship to it all is very different. I'm no longer busy. I'm free. So besides keeping track of the topics that create so much busyness in your mind so that you can relieve them, contemplate the experience you really want. If not busyness, how do you want to feel? so that you can cease busying yourself with seeking it and start being it. This is listeningisthekey.com. You can find us on the web at that address, listeningisthekey.com, or you can phone us directly, me directly, at 303-747-4449. 303-747-4449. Take care.